What's going on, guys? So today we are doing a brake job on a 2014 Lexus IS 250. So what I'm going to be showing you today is how to essentially replace the brake pads and rotors on an IS 250. This will go to be the same for pretty much any car that has the standard brakes like this. All cars use the same. The only difference is going to be like the size of the bolts on the back. So I'll start off by showing you. You will have these pins these bolts right here, which are for the caliper. So it's for the actual caliper, and then you have bolts on the back for the caliper bracket. So you see I've already loosened one right here. That's for the caliper bracket. If you undo these ones, you're able to remove the caliper, and then you're able to remove the brake pads. But in order to the rotors, you'll have to remove these these bracket bolts, and then you'll be able to move the whole thing as a unit. So generally, you can just do the bolts on the back of the bracket. There are two, one at the top and one at the bottom. For the Lexus, these are 17mm bolts, and then you'll be able to remove the whole caliper, so I'll show you that in a second, and then you'll be able to remove the rotor. Once you get those two caliper bolts out at the back, you can see the caliper can come free, the whole unit. So if you're having trouble and it's not sliding off the rotor, all you have to do is grab it and you can squeeze it against the rotor and it'll compress the piston, and then you can just slide the caliper right off. If you're lucky, like it looks like I am right now, the rotor will just come off easily with it. Just put that down. The rotor will come off easily with it and you can just take it off. If you're not lucky, you might have to use a hammer to get it off, because sometimes it can get seized to the hub. Also, don't forget, don't be dumb like I was just being. Turn the wheel so you have more access to the bolts. If you're doing the front wheels, you can turn the wheels, and then you'll be able to have a lot of access to the rear caliper bolts and the bracket bolts. If you're doing rear brakes, you don't have that luxury, but if you're doing front brakes, remember, just turn the wheel. Alright, so in this case, guys, if you were to replace the rotors, you would just put on the new one. It just slides right over the knuckles. When you're putting the caliper back on, it can be beneficial to put one of the lug nuts back on to hold the rotor in place. And you're simply going to grab the caliper and slide it back over. If you had brand new pads and brand new rotors, it may be a little bit tight. In that case, you're going to have to grab it like a C-clamp or something to squeeze this inner piston and then just create space within there. If not, if you're using like one set of new parts, there's a good chance you'll be able to just kind of slide it over because the tolerances are there. So I'm going to put you guys down and you'll see I'll just slide this caliper back over the rotor. If you notice, these are kind of the same parts, because they are. I was just inspecting something, not actually replacing them. But while I'm doing that, I can show you guys the process of how you would actually replace them if needed. Done. Alright guys, so once you slid it back over, as you'll see in the time lapse, you just put the two bracket bolts in, and then you just torque them down. So you may notice at the beginning that you are able to maybe wiggle the caliper a bit. That's just because you squeezed in the piston. So as soon as you go inside the car, press the brakes, it'll compress, and then it'll lock into place.